All right, let's go.
All right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Chunk Chat. Today I have Quadruple D, otherwise known as Chunk WellArd, and Quest Chunk. Why don't you
Hello.
say hello? Oh.
Hello, everyone.
So why don't we just get right into it? So why did you originally want to start an Extreme OneChunk Ironman?
I think the thing that really inspired me the most is you see sort of like Limpwert doing it, and you see people like Verf doing it, and I thought I could do that. Like I saw um, there was sort of like a gap in the market with Ardoin, and I thought that looks like a really good like starting place. And then I just had that sort of idea for a bit, and then it sort of all came to a head where I quit my job,
Oh wow.
and so I had a bunch of free time.
Mm.
Um, and I was like, you know what? If I've got this free time, I might as well put it to good use and actually try and do something with it and make like a chunk account with it. So that's where it started. Started like at the start of the year. Um, I didn't think I'd sort of get this far, to be honest. Like
Mm.
when I first started out, but no, it's yeah. And then I've since got another job, so unfortunately, it's been less like the I can't put my full attention on it, but it's still something I absolutely just love doing when I can.
Oh yeah, you gotta take care of those IRL responsibilities
Yeah.
also. So makes sense. So, how was the Ardone start for anyone who is not familiar with the account? What kind of happened at the beginning to get you to where you are now in your account?
So the Arduino chunk. So I started in the market chunk, and it was actually pretty good. Like as starting chunks go, I think I chose a sort of a more sensible one because there weren't any like 99s, there weren't any like huge grinds straight away, which I think is a good sort of starting point. You don't want to jump in. It's why like when you do Lumbridge, I think that's so impressive with the 299 straight away,
Mm.
but it also can put people off quite a bit, I think. So I think it was a 80 thieving grind and then like a 50 cooking grind. Those are like my two big ones. And then I rolled the Tower of Life chunk just south, which was just like a kind of an RNG grind because I needed to get balls of wool from imps. So I killed 15,000 imps, which I think it was a nice change because I was doing like skilling grinds and then suddenly it was, oh, I'm killing X amount of enemies for the drops.
Yeah.
Um, and then I rolled fishing trawler back in, I think it was February. I rolled fishing trawler, and I have been there ever since.
Yeah.
Although I did recently, so it was originally meant to be a 99 construction grind because you can get the cape and you can buy a house in Ardoin. And being on the trawler does give construction XP, but I have recently given that up because it was just hours wise, it was an absolutely insane grind for something that I can't put all my attention into. But that doesn't mean it's still not an incredibly long grind. But yeah, I've cut it short by probably about a quarter, I think.
Yeah. So you basically ended up rolling straight south, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people could call that unlucky, but there are a lot of pretty difficult grinds around Ardougne. So I guess
Oh yeah.
it I mean, that's probably worst case scenario, but there are some other like ways that could have ended poorly as well. So,
Yeah. I mean,
in
yeah.
hours wise, and originally you had one to complete that construction grind, which would have been pretty crazy. Probably about as crazy as my fletching grind I've got here. If
Yeah.
people are watching, but yeah, it's definitely something that I don't uh, think is unreasonable to change up a bit because certainly we're looking 5k XP an hour. you know what? Let's just dive right into it. So
Yeah.
what were the expected rates if you were to go to 99, so that people just have an understanding of why this is definitely able to be considered a meme grind?
Yeah, so the expected, yeah, so you were saying the XP per hour was about 5k per hour. Obviously, to get 13 million XP it's like, I think it was 2,600 hours, and that's just on the boat. That doesn't include time in between, like being on the boat and getting all the money and the swamp paste and stuff. Like for my grind at the moment, I bought 200,000 swamp paste, and just the buying of it took me 13 hours world hopping. And so I'd need probably like 5 times that, maybe more.
Wow.
So I could easily spend like just a week straight just buying swamp tar and doing nothing else. So yeah, I thought it wasn't worth it. Like, I'm still doing a lot of fishing trawler. I think I'm probably going to end up on like 2,000 ish. Whereas
Mm,
if I hadn't like given up on this 99, it was probably looking like 26,000,
mhm.
which is just an insane difference for one skill.
Yeah, definitely. What construction level have you ended up getting to?
So currently, time of recording, I'm 66 construction, but I think I'm probably going to end the chunk on like 74.
Mhm.
Um, but I've said, sort of as a sort of consolation or as an alternative for me not getting 99, is every time I roll a chunk, I have to get a construction level, because I think that sort of changes it up and adds it. So I'm still technically doing it, but I've put it to more passive. Like, I know obviously
Mm.
with some people they'd have like farming passive, and so it puts that passive until I get just another method, because that means I'm still doing it technically, but just not all in one.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. Definitely would keep you there for a long time,
Yeah.
and that's not as good for content. I think a lot of people understand that, so it makes sense. Um, and what you're saying about like first chunk being there for a long time, um, exactly is how I think about me being in my chunk for this
Yeah.
long. I might as well just do the grind because I've been here for so long already. But like when you're already rolling chunks and you get stuck in a big grind, that can really stall your account.
Because when you start in like a long grind chunk like Lumbridge or like Cox, like you can sort of decide when to start your content, if that makes sense. Like, if you like Limpwork was like, oh, here's my first video, here are my 99s almost.
Hmm.
Whereas, yeah, you start in somewhere like Ardy, and then you are then hit with a 99 grind. It does, like, you have to expect with chunk accounts that it's not going to be, oh, here's one video a month, here's one video X amount of time, because I think there are only a few people who can do that and still make the content interesting.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. I
I
get
know,
that.
because I know there are, like, I'm not much of like a generic talker, like, but also I know I couldn't make like 15 minutes of fishing trawler a week actually that interesting. Like, for
Yeah.
me with the account, it's a case of this is the progress I'm making, and then I can talk about the progress, as opposed to being on fishing trawler. I can't, well, I can't repeat half the stuff I hear on fishing trawler because I'd get demonetized. But
Yeah. It's one of those places you gotta mute, like Winter Todd. That.
yeah, like occasionally you'll have like really nice conversations, but then occasionally you'll just like people who are essentially just slinging slurs about, and you're like, oh, okay, I don't know, I don't actually want to be part of this conversation.
Hmm. No, I get it. Definitely. Yeah, it's just a long grind, and you're doing a big chunk of it already. I think you splitting up the 99 into like several chunk rolls will also like keep the content fresh. Like people will know you'll be doing um, a bit of construction training every roll
Yeah,
to break up the monotony. And at the same time, they get new content with the new stuff you're doing. So makes sense
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Speaking of new content, though, what are some potential chunk grinds that you could get um, very soon with chunk rolls?
Um, so the biggest one is probably the one that I know a couple of people are doing at the moment, such as our good friend Mark and Gnome, is the Hellhound Smoldering Stone Grind.
Ah, yes.
That is only one chunk away from me in Witch Haven. That's the biggest, I think, in my like direct next rolls, but I'm 2 rolls away from I think like 5 different skill capes. I've got fishing, range, and fire making all like just above me. I've
Mhm.
got magic in Yanil and agility in Brimhaven. All of them are like I could very easily just roll right into.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely a little concerning. Like I
Yeah.
said before, like fishing trawler might have been the worst grind if you count the construction. But yeah, there are a lot of difficult places to go, like around Artie. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
even though you
definitely.
had it pretty nice in your first chunk, there's a lot of big grinds soon.
Yeah, a lot of stuff around me, yeah.
Mhm.
But I think as long as you've got plans for them, then it's not too bad. Like for most of them, I've sort of at least got somewhat of a vague idea of what I would need to do if I rolled them. Because otherwise, I don't want to just be dropped into like, oh, go get 99 magic, and then just being like essentially just in the middle of nowhere, not knowing what to do with it.
Mhm. Yeah, you are pretty close to the magic cape as well.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, there are a lot of skill capes around there. They just decide to
yeah,
plop them all in one kind of area. So,
yeah. It's actually crazy. Like I didn't actually consider when I first started how many skill capes are actually around here. But yeah, like having so many in such close proximity is actually crazy.
mhm. And on top of that too, like smithing's kind of a bane for a lot of people. Even though the skill cape's not near you, you have a furnace, and then that's right next to you, one chunk away, and
Yeah,
then you've got an anvil already in the fishing trawler chunk. So, do you have runite ore? Would that mean 99, or is that
I
um a bit lower?
I don't know where my nearest runite ore is, to be honest. I think it's possibly in the Brimhaven dungeon.
Mm.
So before I get that grind, I probably already have the 99 agility grind.
Yeah.
So it probably wouldn't be like the next thing I have to worry about.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think that's my nearest. I don't even know if there is runite in Brimhaven. There's definitely adamantite. So I know I've definitely got that, but I can't remember
So
if
it'd
there's
be
rune or
what,
not.
88 the highest?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, Brimhaven Dungeon is just there's so much in there anyway because it's obviously you got all the dragons and stuff in there.
Yeah, that would have its own grinds for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, definitely.
Uh, I forget specifically. Are your rolling rules? Do they include charters?
No, they do not. So I've basically done it so if it's basically non-charter ships. So like Captain Barnaby in Ardoyne, he can go from Ardoyne to Brimhaven to Rimington. I'm allowing that, but not like charter ships because I'm kind of in. It's sort of like a halfway measure because I know there are some people sort of like limp who don't use any boats if you can walk there.
Mhm.
But I think for this one, it's like you wouldn't be able to walk. It's doing the Karamja one, and then it just also happens to go to Rimington as well.
Yeah, so that Kind of makes sense. I do like the account specific kind of transportation stuff.
Yeah,
Like if you're on Varlamore, like Quetzal, or um, even on Zaya, a lot of people use the mine carts now
yeah,
as specific travel. Um, or like if you're a sailing kind of chunk using boats, makes sense. Um, but yeah, using the typical Limpwort rules can keep the grinds kind of similar, I guess, if you're always unlocking like similar chunks to other chunkers. So making
yeah.
it interesting for content wise is something that I think is good for keeping YouTube fresh,
Oh,
making
definitely.
sure that you're not clicking on like 5 different videos about the same exact thing with
Yeah,
different
well, that's one
creators.
of the things. That's the one thing that with obviously a couple of people are now doing the Hellhound grind. That's the one that I'm like, oh god, how am I going to make that one like different? Because it'll be a case of if I roll that, that is like my only grind in there, apart from like long and curved bones from the ogres. So it will literally just be, maybe just a video that takes however long of me just killing hellhounds.
Yeah, that's the tough thing for sure, making it seem fresh. I don't know. I don't think anybody's gotten really spooned on that drop yet. So maybe if you got spooned,
Yeah,
that'd be interesting,
maybe
But yeah, you can't
that
bet
would
on
be
that.
pretty funny if I
Yeah,
go in and get it before everyone else and then just leave again.
it'd be great, honestly. But yeah, it's it's bound to have like similar grinds, especially with like stars. Like a lot of people get stars, a lot of people get impling grinds, hellhounds, um, visage grind early on is something people get.
Yeah,
Um, even fishing trawler, a lot of people get there by boat, but you got there by rolling. But that is a grind you see people get pretty early on quite often, I feel.
yeah. I think a
So
lot of people have gotten quite because obviously because I've rolled by walking there, I've got the construction grind, and I think I'm the only person that has got it via that way. I don't know if there is anyone else.
well,
Um,
Spoon, but he had that backlogged instantly.
yeah,
Because
yeah, I remember
basically
him
because
asking me
he got there
because I did
after
it.
you changed um your goals in that respect as well. It's
Yeah,
pretty clearly a meme grind, but basically you're just gonna get some construction levels that way anyway, and it could be a
yeah.
good starting for construction.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a good starting point
Yeah, I
for
feel
it.
like it's kind of weird how like saws are just so hard to come by.
Yeah, it's actually
And a lot
crazy.
of people, I mean, I don't think any extreme has gotten a construction grind who has a saw, so that's kind of wild as
Well,
well.
yeah, because because I've looked it up, and there are 3 spawns for a saw. 2 of them are on Zaya, and then there's 3 places to buy a saw. One's on Zaya, and one is Prif, and
And then the
otherwise it's
others
all
Farah,
yeah. And otherwise
the
there's a
sawmill.
spawn, and you can buy one in Varrock, yeah, which is insane for
Mhm.
such a like crucial item for construction. To only have it in like 3 spots, I think is absolutely insane.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Which is funny, and
It is funny.
I know that I'll have to do that grind too, and I've got a lot of planks, so I'm hoping.
Yeah. Oh,
But yeah,
yeah,
there's a good
because
chance I get to the sawmill in the Woodcutting Guild, or get saw spawn in Jazian before I get 99 construction. So I'm hoping on that, betting on
yeah,
that.
I think the other spawn's actually just like 2 chunks above you. I think that's where the other saw is in like the little farm there.
Oh, is it in the farm?
So you're really close to it.
Yeah, there's a tannery there too, which is kind of thing as well. But yeah, it's very weird how that goes. But I guess that's just because the game wasn't intended to be played like this,
Well,
and
yeah,
we're kind of just going through the motions with it. And I think that's part of the fun as well, is that this is the unintended way to play RuneScape, and yeah, we just make it work how it is. You get
Yeah,
these
definitely.
silly accounts with level ones and a bunch of skills, but very high levels in others. Part of what makes it cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I've obviously got 99 thieving, but then I've also got 1 agility, 1 herblore, 1 rune crafting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. People always are intrigued by accounts like this. They see them in game,
Oh yeah.
even
Oh yeah,
just
definitely.
about. But yeah, so what's the most enjoyable grinds that you've had on your account so far?
Um it probably was the 99 thieving grind. I didn't actually need to get 99 thieving. I just thought, well, I needed the money for the swamp paste.
Mhm.
I just thought, oh, I might as well just like go the whole way.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just nice. It was very relaxing because obviously once you get to that sort of level, you don't worry too much about like failing your grinds or anything, failing your pickpockets. So it was nice to just sort of have a pretty chill one. Honestly, like all of the grinds I've currently got are pretty chill. Like fishing trawler is chill. It's just, clicking for 5 minutes at a time while you watch something else on your second screen.
Mhm.
But I've always liked thieving, like as a skill. I think it's probably one of my sort of like probably top five.
Really. Well, it's always been like my bottom five. I'm not gonna
Really?
lie. Yeah. But I mean, it is pretty easy just to click over and over if you're doing that kind of thieving.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
in the past, I've definitely not had the best thieving levels on my account, and it's typically been like one of the later 99s I've gotten if I have gotten them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. Is thieving definitely the most efficient way for you to get money on your account, or
Oh,
sure?
yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Because when I was first doing all the money making, I did sort of test a bunch of different ways. Um, so I was doing like mining, smithing into alking. I was sort of cooking different things and selling them. I was like doing gems. Um, but yeah, just the problem with mining is coal. Like it's actually insanely slow to mine coal,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is kind of crazy because obviously you need it for everything. But I think so many people now just get coal as like, oh, it's a drop from this boss or it's a drop from that boss, so they don't really necessarily go out and just mine it.
Yeah, and you have a bronze pickaxe still, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I do. So
gotcha.
that just makes
So
it
the
just
people know.
unbelievably. Yeah, so I did try and do like a make like mithril plate bodies and then like alch them. But yeah, it was like good XP and it was like all right to do, but it was just so slow.
Yeah,
Wasn't worth it.
makes sense. You know how much thieving XP you would have gotten if you did go for 99 construction?
No idea, honestly. But I'm on 15 mil at the moment, 15.25 mil. It probably would have been probably 100 mil.
Yeah, that's wild.
Like yeah, like probably maybe a bit less, but I wouldn't have been surprised if I'd ended up with like that sort of level of it.
In the grand scheme, for like a normal player, that's a pretty cheap 99 construction too.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. If I spent that 10 mil properly on construction, I probably could have got a lot further with it than I actually did.
Well, I mean, like a main 10 mil going onto the GE to get planks.
Yeah,
It's probably not going to get them as far, although it'll be way faster for them
yeah,
for
well, yeah,
sure.
definitely.
But I think the construction XP per GP for your grind is better than most. I think not quite
Possibly, yeah.
sure, but
I mean, if I could have bought the swamp paste on the GE, I'd have been laughing.
yeah, that would
I'd
have
probably have like
taken
10 times more than what I have.
yeah, probably would have taken like the hardest part out of it. Really.
Yeah, literally.
Well, yeah. So other than the construction to roll, you just need 90 mining. Is that right?
So 90 mining, 81 fishing and 91 cooking for the manta ray at the fishing trawler to catch and cook, because that's an elite diary task.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's not too bad, thankfully. I've got quite a lot of cooking levels banked because I'm sort of waiting to get all of the fish, and then I'll probably just cook it all at once, just for the big like number go up rush.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, I think once I get 81 fishing, I don't think I'll have 91 cooking banked, but I think I'll probably be pretty close to it. Which is kind of crazy to have like that 10 level difference when you're cooking and catching like the same stuff, really.
Yeah. But I mean, in general, cooking's a lot faster than fishing as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So maybe that's why they did it. But yeah, I mean, they obviously made cooking better XP because you burn stuff. I know, like nowadays, they probably didn't factor cooking gauntlets into that back in the day, or like the Hostedious Kitchen, obviously, since that's newer.
Yeah, but then
yeah,
I don't have to factor that in.
cooking.
So yeah,
you can get 99 cooking like way before 99 fishing these days if you're a regular account.
But yeah, definitely.
And something weird about the Chambers of Zarek as well is that you get less cooking XP than you do fishing XP or hunter XP inside the raid.
Really?
So my cooking level was always lagging behind a bit. It's funny.
It's weird that that's how that works there. I didn't realize that.
Like one of the few places in the game where it's like that.
You learn something new every day.
But yeah, I also I told you about the rabbit cooking as well.
Yes, you did. Yes.
Yeah,
so the charter ship method, because they do just have some random things on the charter ship. But yeah, making an iron spit and then cooking the rabbit on the iron spit. I haven't actually tested that out yet, but it is one of those things that I think once I get all my fishing done, that I'm gonna have to do like a comparison.
Yeah, we'll see if that compares for sure. And if so, then it could be that gap or fill that gap for cooking if you don't stack up enough fish trawler.
Yeah.
Obviously, the fish you catch on trawler depends on your fishing XP as well.
Yeah.
Although some of the numbers are kind of weird on the trawler specifically.
Yeah. Looking at the graph I use, the fishing trawler graph.
Oh yeah, on the wiki it looks terrible.
On the wiki that has like what level you catch all the fish. Honestly, one of the more insane graphs on the wiki. If anyone wants to look it up, I highly recommend it.
Isn't sea turtles like less XP than shark or something like that?
Yeah. So catching a sea turtle
level.
Yeah.
Less XP.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't make any sense to me. Catching a sea turtle is less XP than catching a swordfish.
Really, it's that bad?
Yeah. So swordfish is 60 XP and a sea turtle is 57.
That's insane. Yeah, whoever came up with fishing trawler, they're probably long gone, but they deserve to be fired sooner.
I genuinely don't know what they were thinking when they decided the XP rates at trawler, but
and Jagex is maybe they're listening to Josh a bit because they made a change to the fishing trawler in this past update. All they did was turn around the tentacle on the fishing trawler that was facing the wrong way for some reason. Finally fixed that, but yeah, they've got so much more to fix with that minigame for sure.
Yeah, they did that, and then obviously with Josh doing the exploit with Hanani.
Yeah, that got patched.
That got patched. Which
I could see people like selling 99s there though, so it's probably something they want to avoid as early as possible.
Yeah, because I think he's probably one of the only people that managed to exploit it successfully, and then was like, no, get rid of that. I mean, it shouldn't be in there, but
yeah.
I am annoyed that it was taken up before my time.
Yeah, it would have been nice if he let you in on that. But still, like you already have other grinds in that chunk too, so it's
Yeah, yeah,
not
it's not
that
the only
big.
thing I would have. Yeah, I mean, at the time of it as well, I was sort of still kind of umming and ahhing on the 99 construction, so
Yeah,
it wouldn't have helped me really.
yeah. Unless there's any way to boost the construction XP in that chunk.
Well,
Maybe somebody
maybe.
big brained will think about it. We'll see.
Yeah, if anyone finds out, please, please, please let me know.
Yeah. Now let's get on to your new series,
Yes,
Quest Chunk. What's the in-game name on that account again?
Quad Quester.
Quad Quester. Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
tell
thought
me why you decided to do this kind of special account. Kind of let us know a bit more what it is in case anybody hasn't seen it yet. And yeah, tell us how it's going so far.
well, so basically the idea behind the the account is like it's getting a quest cape, but with like sort of a chunk twist on it. So I've got it so that every quest point that I unlocks me a chunk, basically. Um, so I started in like the Ardoin Monastery chunk because there are two quests in there that don't require you to actually leave the chunk. You can do Clock Tower and Monk's Friend just all in one chunk. And then I've sort of I added a couple of extra rules to it. So it was if I get a mini quest complete, that counts as like getting a quest point in essence. And the same with doing like fully completing a medium diary or above. Just because I sort of planned out the how many chunks I would need in total, and it's actually more than the amount of quest points you can get. So I knew it would be impossible if I didn't add those rules. But I've been doing quite a lot. I sort of started it as well because obviously I'm just doing construction, like Trawler on this account on my chunk account. So I wanted something else to sort of almost fill the gap of the content because I knew that there would be long gaps
Yeah.
between like chunk man accounts. So I
Mm.
thought add something else in there, and I'm doing pretty well so far. I think I'm on like as of this latest episode, I'm on like 60 quest points. I want to say.
Yeah.
So
Pretty good
it's
so
going
far.
really well. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going really well so far, and I've still got my hardcore status, which I definitely didn't expect because for this account I lost it pickpocketing, which I mean it's sort of a rite of passage. I know so many different chunk accounts that lost their hardcore status pickpocketing just because it is just mindless clicking, but
Mm.
still the hardcore is still going strong on that one at the moment.
That's good. Yeah, maybe we can keep that to the finale. We'll see. But yeah,
Yeah,
it is a nice series to have. It has an end goal,
yeah.
which is Quest Cape, and uh, yeah, I think you'll get there. Sure. Um, yeah, a lot of people might not have thought it was possible first, but with the extra, obviously you did your research, and with the
Yeah.
extra um diaries and so forth, um, it's nice to see that it'll be possible, and I'm excited for that. Um, what's kind of like the difference in play style between the two accounts?
I'd say the quest chunk is definitely more active. Because obviously with the chunk account, it's I've only got three, 2 or 3 grinds that I'm sort of doing, and I'm going back and forth between. Whereas with the chunk account, I'm sort of my goals will be get the requirements for this quest, get the requirements for that quest, and then that I don't really record a lot of because I want the quest account to be more just a here's me doing the quest, like a lot more relaxed, less sort of cuts,
Mm.
so I can just sort of tell the story of the quests because I absolutely love the quests. Like when on my old main that I had sort of 4 or 5 years ago, I was really close to the quest cape. I think it must have been just after Dragon Slayer 2 came out, whenever that was. And that was like the one quest I couldn't do. Like it was just too hard for me.
Mm.
And I was on like a crappy laptop with like a plug-in mouse, no mouse pad.
Of course, yeah.
So I couldn't really. I think I managed to kill Vorkath, but it was like after so many tries, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to do anything past this. But
Yeah.
so a Questscape has always been something that I've wanted, and it's something like even as a kid I loved the quests. So it's definitely something I've always sort of wanted on the account.
Yeah, quests in RuneScape are definitely unlike any other game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, definitely.
a lot of what makes it special. There are like a lot of series of people doing quests and talking through the dialogue and everything, but I think putting a chunk spin on it definitely makes it more unique. The way that you're gonna unlock quests is gonna be a lot different than what a normal account could do, because obviously you have like a route to follow with your restriction.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see when it comes to doing those big quests. You might have to have certain skilling methods to get the requirements, or yeah, that are like limited to your chunks, or like training or getting specific items to defeat these bosses. Might be a bit difficult with the chunks that you have unlocked as well, so that could come into play. Definitely
Yeah.
a nice, a unique snowflake experience that you won't see in um any other videos for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because especially with the like the combat, um, like a lot of the stuff is, stuff I can buy or stuff I can make. So I've just had to raise like 100k to get myself rune armor on that account.
Mhm.
Um, so that is finding in my chunk like a decent way to actually raise money was actually really difficult. Like there weren't any like major ones, especially for an Ironman. Like if I was a normal account, I could have very easily just, you know, killed some cows, sold the cow hide on the Grand Exchange sort of thing. But
Mhm.
um, with this one, it was definitely an interesting way to find like a more unique way of making money.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of people will think, you're moving chunk to chunk, you're gonna have a lot of the game unlocked, but it's really like you're trying not to unlock any chunks if possible, because you're gonna be so tight at the end.
Yeah,
That every chunk unlock matters quite a bit. Um, Definitely important to emphasize that in videos, because it's part of the uniqueness of the account. Sure.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Because there are so many bigger late game things that I'll probably never unlock,
Mhm.
like God Wars. Like I'll probably never unlock God Wars, even though it's just one chunk off like where I would be walking. I still don't want to unlock it if I don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. And that means that for like Dragon Slayer, you're gonna be limited to like a rune crossbow and black d'hide. Most likely, you're not gonna have any
Yeah,
end game sort of um, weapons to help you with that grind.
yeah. Thankfully, because of the sort of mini quest like rule I've added, I think I'll be able to have barrows
Mm,
because
yeah,
completing barrows like once is itself a mini quest.
yeah, that'll
So
be helpful at least for
so
sure.
yeah, unlocking it sort of pays for itself in a way.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah, to have
but yeah, a
stuff
lot of
like
the
that.
later
Sure.
game stuff, a lot of
Hmm.
the later game stuff is going to be sort of not available to me, which is
Yeah,
going to be interesting when I get there.
even doing questing with barrows will be kind of a nostalgic look anyway.
Yeah, true.
So, when did you start playing RuneScape?
So I originally played when I was like 8 years old, I think, sort of that sort of age.
Mhm.
Um, and then I played it up. I just played it for a good couple of years, and then I stopped playing like the original sort of around the time Summoning came out. That's the last sort of core memory I have of like playing it back in the day, was like trying to wrap my 10-year-old head around Summoning and then just not really understanding it.
Yeah.
But then obviously all of my friends stopped playing, and then it came to a point where I was like, oh well, if my friends aren't playing, I don't want to play, because it's, you're 10 years old, 11 years old, you play what your friends play a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And then sort of when Old School came out, I've been sort of off and on it, like a lot. Like I'll come back, I'll play for like a couple of months, and then I'll drop it again for 6 months, a year, and then I'll come back. And it's that saying that you never really quit RuneScape, you just take long breaks.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
that has never been more true for me. And then obviously with this account, I started it pretty much a year ago. Like sort of, it was like end of November last year, so 11 months. And I have been playing it pretty much non-stop ever since. Because I think the problem I had when I was originally playing, or like when I played it before I started the Chunk account, was there's almost too much to do. And I didn't have a good sort of like mindset of, right, I want to do this, so I need to train this, so I need to. Whereas now it's my Chunk task is get mining, get fishing, do the trawler, so I know what I can do.
Yeah.
And now obviously as well, I've upgraded my setup. I've actually got like a PC rather than just like a crappy laptop as well, which means I can do other things at the same time. Like I can have things open on my other monitor. I can look at stuff like that. Whereas before it was, if I'm playing on my laptop, that's what I'm doing. Which when you're doing stuff like, I don't know, like agility, it doesn't keep you engaged as much.
Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah, it's definitely something I think that is part of the game now, where there's so much to do. Just people don't know what to do. The cool thing about chunk count is that you're given the tasks and you do them. It's a lot like Adventure John that they added to like Lumbridge for like new main accounts.
Yeah.
You get a task, you do them, you get things in return, and I think that keeps a lot of people engaged in like on a new account and everything.
Oh, definitely.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's a really good addition, I feel, for newer players. So actually am a bit of a fan of that. I think that's definitely something that um they need to keep doing in order to get new people into the game. Because
Yeah.
obviously like our player base is getting kind of old, so um to get that next generation interested in the game, they need to not log in and be so overwhelmed that they just log out because they can't decide what to do. So
Oh, yeah, definitely.
yeah, I
Yeah, I
think
think.
the chunk task type of deal, but like for new players, would be a good idea.
Oh yeah, and especially with the adventurer John, he's such a good. I'm actually kind of annoyed because with the quest account, I was going to try and utilize him for for just like some of the, because obviously some of the rewards you get from him are like pretty good, but I didn't realize he doesn't appear for everyone. It was a
Yeah, I
case of I
think you
didn't
have
like
to be a
properly
main
research
account,
it.
and I think you have to say that you're a new player when you're
Yeah,
on
you do.
Tutorial
Yeah,
Island.
yeah.
Yeah,
Otherwise, he doesn't appear. I was searching for him for ages, and I was like, oh, actually, can't actually
yeah.
use him at all.
It would
But
be pretty overpowered for Ironman though,
oh,
and
definitely.
I don't suggest that anybody their first playthrough be an Ironman because it
Oh
would
no.
definitely be way more difficult than it needs to be for a new player. Of
Yeah.
course,
Oh
like new
yeah. I
players
think.
are more so independent at the start anyway. Like
Yeah.
I was watching this guy who played WoW and then started playing RuneScape, and yeah, I mean, he hasn't even found the GE yet. um, and played for 10 plus hours already. And did the Adventure John thing and like was kitted out in Mithril and stuff. So you get like that starter stuff to keep you going, and the upgrades and the tasks give you stuff to do, which is definitely important.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I like that.
Yeah, because I think that was one of the problems with my other account before these two, is that was like a main. It wasn't an Ironman or anything. So I know a lot of the times I was just like, oh, I need to train this. I'll just buy it. I'll just go to the Grand Exchange and buy it. And I think having the Ironman restriction of having, oh, I actually can't just go and buy it, does actually motivate you a lot more. And it feels like almost like you earn your levels a bit more, as opposed to just, oh, I bought all the logs I need to get fletching. Like, I know when you get your fletching grind done, that's probably going to feel like the best thing in the world.
Yeah, it just improves the satisfaction of completing the goal if it's a tough one, and if it's one that you've had to work for. Um, Definitely like a main. I'm sure they feel satisfaction when they earn enough money to buy like their first twisted bow or something.
Oh, yeah.
But getting a twisted bow as a drop on an Ironman is probably 10 times better than that, I would say, at
Yeah.
least. And then on top of that, getting it on a chunk count
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
probably double that. So yeah, it's definitely it goes to show that the more effort you put into something, the harder it is to obtain. Like the more satisfaction you get out of finally getting it, finally achieving it,
Oh,
whether
yeah.
it's a level or a drop or something.
Yeah, I think as well. I think that's why chunk accounts appeal to people as well. Like knowing that once you've completed that chunk, you're unlocking more to do. I think that feels like it's a real sense of like achievement. That, not that I'm saying that mains don't get a sense of achievement, like, but it's a very specific sense of, I've completed everything here. It's a very completionist mindset, I think, which I think appeals to a lot of people.
Yeah, you don't get that a lot as a regular player. There's no completionist cape, and maybe green logging a section of the collection log definitely gives a sense of achievement, but it's just more sense of achievement with a chunk account. Even if it's like chop an oak log,
Yeah,
but
yeah, you're making
you get to check off that task, and because you checked off that task, maybe you get to roll a new area, and that's exciting as well.
yeah, and it
Uh,
makes like what would normally be a smaller achievement that much bigger. Because yeah, like normally you'd be like, oh, chop an oak log, okay, 15 wood cutting, easy peasy. But when you're like 15 wood cutting, now I can roll my next chunk. Now I've unlocked this. It does give it much more scale, I think.
yeah, definitely gives you more chances for dopamine, I guess.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's definitely a unique way to play, and I think a lot of people have begin to understand that.
yeah, oh yeah,
I think that's partly why like the one chunk clan is constantly full, always new
yeah,
players going in, and everyone in the clan really appreciates when people get things that they're always congratsing, whatever it is,
yeah,
like a level 40 in a skill. At least we know like they probably had to work for that. Maybe they um had a bronze pickaxe to use the whole way, and maybe it was a long way from a bank, or maybe they didn't have a bank.
yeah.
It's just that chunk mentality um makes us appreciate smaller things a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the clan as well. If anyone, my advice, if anyone wants to start an account, is definitely join the clan. Like, people are so friendly in it, and there's always like something going on. Like, there's always like people congratulating, and then I know like when I got the heron pet, like that clan chat just absolutely popped off, and
Oh yeah.
it's there's nothing quite like getting that sort of huge achievement, or when I got my 99 and having like so many people there. to sort of witness it. It is like unlike anything else, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, like if you do this, like you don't have to be a content creator to get people to acknowledge your achievements.
Oh
And
yeah,
when people say like, "Oh, it's time to roll" in the clan chat, people are excited for it. They'll ask for your chunk map so that they can see what you're doing. It's really just a great community. Because yeah, you don't
absolutely.
have to be a content creator to be popular in this community as
Oh
well.
no,
There are a lot
definitely
of
not.
people who are under the radar who everyone in the clan at least knows how crazy their grinds have been and
Yeah.
like how much they've accomplished and are always happy to hear when people um, achieve things and roll, and it's just a lot of fun for sure. So definitely
Oh yeah,
recommend it
absolutely.
as well. Um, if you could change anything with the current game, is there anything that you would change?
Um, apart from changing the XP rates of fishing trawler, um, that's the main one. I think for me is fishing trawler, but I'm obviously it's something I've been doing for the past like 8 months at this point. Um, and I did do a little section in my video about sort of like how I would change the XP rates, just boosting them a bit because some of them are just it's just not a very good mini game for XP. But then I had a couple of people in my sort of comments arguing people don't come for the XP, they come for you know the angler outfit, they come for the pet or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, getting a bit more XP to make the grind more enjoyable would be nice. It'd be cool if it was
Yeah,
maybe if they just, as simple as it sounds, just scaled the XP to level. That way, if somebody was getting their outfit like super late in their account, you know, a 5 XP drop in construction feels a lot better when you're a low level
yeah,
versus a high level.
yeah, yeah.
So I mean, that would help
Yeah.
you out too, but I think in general would be better for the game as well.
Yeah,
But
because that was one of the when I was making the video, that was one of my big points was because stuff like Wintertop, it all scales to your level, and like I think Temperos does as well, but don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure it does. So it's just some of the older mini games that are still in the here's X amount of XP for this or whatever.
yeah, and I think improving older content should be something that they focus more on, other than just putting in new stuff in the game and
Yeah,
then other things turn into dead content. I think that just making certain things more useful or more enjoyable would definitely be better for the game than just adding more things to outdate these other pieces of content.
yeah, uh, yeah, definitely. Because I know, obviously, it comes back to like with the chunk accounts, you do end up doing a lot of dead content. Or
Mhm.
like for me, my second chunk being in like the Necromancer Tower, I never saw anyone else there.
Yeah.
Like I saw like one person who was also like doing basically the same grind as me, and apart from that, that was it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I hardly even knew about what was there either. So
yeah,
yeah, it definitely is another thing about a chunk count, sure.
yeah,
That they get to try out old pieces of content that people forgot about, and um uh you know they chunk counts really dig into areas too.
yeah,
Like looking around every corner. I mean, if you're locked in one place for a long time, you're gonna be learning everything about it
yeah.
for sure.
You're going to explore.
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna find a lot more than other people who are just passing by. We'll see. Very- Definitely and another advantage to chunk counts, and it's probably made a lot of improvements to the game in that aspect too.
Yeah, I think so, because I think if, like, obviously chunk accounts didn't exist, there are some more niche discoveries, like we were saying with the fishing trawler that Josh discovered, probably would have never been found
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you're there for so long. You learn the mechanics of it, you learn the intricacies of it, and you you find the exploits in it, which you probably wouldn't if you were just, oh, it's fishing trawler, I'm here for the outfit, now I'm off, sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. I know a lot of people hate on the um the chunk counts that are kind of abusing these mechanics or are looking for things to exploit, but in the long run, like these exploits help the game. They
Yeah.
improve it. They bring light to things that nobody ever knew about. So that's definitely a good thing about like content creation as well. Is that we can put this out to the public and really showcase things that need to be changed in the game and stuff like that. So yeah, I really like that as far as chunk counts as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Jagex are normally very good at sort of listening to player feedback. Like, obviously, you've got the polling system and stuff, but they will sort of listen to individual people, even if it's just sort of like, oh, I posted on Reddit about this and this. They do take a lot of it on board.
Yeah,
Maybe too much in some cases, but they're definitely very good with their community, and they are very open most of the time with, this happened, so we need to change this. Like, obviously with the fishing trawler stuff, and you can sort of pinpoint being like, oh, that happened because of Josh, or that happened because of this person.
hmm,
Because I think you've said a couple of times that there have been certain things that you've pointed out that then the devs are like, oh yeah, we need to change that.
yeah. I've gotten at least one thing that I can specifically point out that I've gotten changed. Um, was to allow Ironman to pick up the keystone crystal inside the for the tightrope room. And yeah, I'm happy about that because it's not just good for my account; it's good for other Ironmen as well. It makes the raid more enjoyable and can speed up the raid a bit by bringing some extra runes and doing some like a team activity where you have to coordinate with your team in order to get this right. So it's a really interesting method as well. It's not just something to skip a step. It's adding more steps to get a faster raid time in general. So
Yeah,
I do like things like that. I think that they're good for the game, other than just you know one click to skip something is not as enjoyable in my opinion. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, I agree with you there.
So other than RuneScape, do you have any additional hobbies, uh, other games you play, IRL stuff?
So yeah, so while I was first sort of in the account, when I was so obviously I first started this account because I quit my job, and then while I was sort of looking for jobs in the interim, I was doing a bit of like acting work. Um,
Well,
and it was mainly sort of like extra work, so being like sort of a background extra on like TV shows and stuff like that. I only did a couple, but for the UK viewers, I was actually in the background of a Casualty episode. Um, you, as an American, probably do not know what Casualty is, but it's
nope.
basically like a long running hospital drama. It's very UK. It's a very British program. Um, but I'm actually sort of like I'm blurry in the background of one of the episodes of Casualty, um, which was good fun to do. And then so yeah, so I've been doing that, little bits of that.
That's cool. I've
And
always thought about doing something like that. But pretty cool that you get to do it.
oh yeah, it was so much fun. Like it was only like a day's worth of filming, but just being there and being with sort of all the other people that were also doing it was such a nice experience.
Hmm.
Um, and then other games wise, I'm actually also quite into my sort of FPSs. Like as of time of recording, sort of Black Ops 6 has just come out, so I've been playing that quite a bit. Um, and then me and a couple of the other chunkers have played a bit of CS, which I've never played before, but they were sort of showing me the ropes to it. But that was good fun. But yeah, a lot of FPSs, and I quite like a lot of indie puzzle games as well. Just as like I need to sort of warm my brain up before I jump into sort of grinding. So I'll just load up one of those games and just play
Yeah,
that for like an hour.
fair
And
enough.
it's one of the games I like when I'm listening to like podcasts, when I'm listening to like Chunk Chat. I
Good
tend to
podcast, I
listen.
hear.
Yeah, yeah, it's all right. Some of the guests are a bit odd, but but yeah, when I'm listening to that, I'll tend to play a game like that rather than like play RuneScape, which is kind of weird because it's a podcast about RuneScape. But yeah, that's me. That's what I tend to do when I'm
Yeah, I
not
feel like a
working.
lot of people play RuneScape. How about we get a comment, some comments going if you are playing RuneScape, let us know. If you're playing other games, let us know.
Yeah,
Like
if
how
you
are you
play,
guys? What are you guys doing while you're listening to the podcast or watching? Let us
yeah,
know.
what are you doing right now? Pause this
Yeah,
video right now. Type a comment. What are you doing? And then like and subscribe as well.
you heard the man. You heard the man.
Now that's a call to action.
There we go. That's awesome. Do you mind if I ask what you do for work? Because we've got I've asked that question before and get some pretty interesting jobs in the RS section.
Yeah, it is really wide. You got like aerospace engineer, and then you've got like surf instructor, which are probably like the two coolest. And then there's
And very
me, who I
different, opposite ends
yeah
of the spectrum too.
yeah, but I just do sort of like admin for like a finance company. They do like pensions and investments and stuff, and I just do admin for that.
Fair enough.
Which it's fine. Like it's not obviously super exciting,
Yeah,
but
probably real
it's
popular at parties for that job.
yeah. Well, yeah, but it is good fun. Like the people I work with are great, and so it's a case of you come in, you do the work. Nobody there knows that I sort of do this on the side, but maybe one day I'll tell them. Who knows?
Yeah, fair enough. Oh, when you get big one day, for sure.
Yeah, when I quit to when I finally get the big following that allows me to do this full time, that's when I'll let them know
Oh
when I
yeah.
hand my notes in.
Well, I think your content's great. I think you'll
Oh,
keep growing
stop
and
it,
we'll
you.
see where it goes for sure. But yeah, see. Are there any other topics that you were wanting to talk about?
Oh, I don't know. Free reign. I don't know.
Mhm.
I have got some advice for people that either want chunk accounts, either do a chunk account or want to sort of get into content creation.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Go
my biggest, so I've got one big piece of advice if you want to do a chunk account in general. Start near or at a bank or a deposit box,
I recommend
because
too.
the amount of people that don't start near a bank or a deposit box and then have to throw away so much XP is not even funny. Even if it's just like a deposit box, like obviously you got people like Ordo who started in Port Sarim,
Mm.
just so you can get put all the stuff you need in a bank just to hold it for later. I
Yeah,
would
the
highly
amount of
recommend that.
like future XP that chunk counts get is pretty wild for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool to stack up the weird stuff and
Oh yeah.
some possible future XP. So yeah, that's definitely something you probably want to do unless for some reason you specifically want to be a temporary UIM or
Yeah.
maybe you utilize the grave digger random or something to bank your items because you can deposit things with that random event. Then
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be a bit difficult without a bank to start. I will
Oh yeah, and
agree.
the chunk accounts that are UIMs, I have so much respect for them, but I think that is actually insane.
Yeah, if you're going to do a UIM, maybe don't do extreme, or like do something where you pick your chunks like Capri for sure, because you're going to be
Yeah,
at an extreme disadvantage without being able to bank things for the future.
yeah. And it's the same with like Supreme OneChunk Ironmans. I think they are, again, I have so much respect for them, but I do think they're insane.
Yeah, you definitely
Like,
need to bank if you're supreme.
yeah,
Um,
oh, 100%.
and yeah, just be prepared to get 100 million. What could I be?
Yeah, yeah. The pets are like, I'm very thankful for my heron pet. I got it. It's the first ever pet I got in any time I've played RuneScape, apart from like the cat or the pet rock. But yeah, I got absolutely spooned on it, and I would not want to be waiting around for it. It's definitely not worth that hassle.
Yeah, imagine you got the fishing and cooking requirements done, and maybe even dove further into construction, then you still had to get the pet on top of that.
Yeah,
Imagine.
yeah. And then also my advice, if you want to do the YouTube side of it, I got two actually. One is uh, have a backlog of content before you release your first video, because I know there are some people like Brucescape who are like months ahead of what they've actually released, and it's such a smart thing to do, because especially when you're like me and your first chunk isn't that bad, but then you immediately get hit with like a massive one, it means you can still somewhat release content on while you're catching up to yourself, essentially. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, there are going to be times where there are months between episodes. Like, I think that's just the nature of the accounts. But having that first initial, even if it's just like your first 5 episodes, you can release pretty consistently, I think helps immensely. Because a lot of the time I see it, someone will have a really good episode one, really good like concept, really good, like they can do it really well, they present themselves really well, and then you're waiting 3 months for episode two,
Yeah.
and it drops people off massively.
Yeah, it ruins the suspense a bit for sure. I was a couple months ahead. I put out my first video as well, and that definitely
Yeah,
helped me. But I think by the time I got to episode 4, I was right up to par. So,
yeah.
yeah, it was a
I
bit
was pretty
difficult for
much
me
the same.
too. Yeah, I mean,
Like,
there's a lot of like content you can get out of just everyday things, just joking around that you can put in your video that'll improve it. But for the most part, like if you're a chunk count, you're just putting in progression. It's gonna be
yeah,
a long time in between them, especially once you get like really deep into grinds, or you're just posting the same thing over and over, the same clip again and again, because you're just getting like levels doing the same thing.
yeah,
Yeah, it's good to have a backup like that. I will also say if you are um, really wanting to be a content creator, the best time to start is as soon as possible, because it
yeah,
only gets more difficult to do. Like there are only more people doing it. That if you really want to get into it, like don't delay, for sure. Especially with the nerves too. If you're like nervous about posting a video and you don't think it'll do well, just post it. Like you'll get better as you go. And
yeah,
like worrying too much about the quality right out the gate is really not that important. Like if content creation is your goal, if your goal is to play a chunk count and just have fun with it, definitely like stacking up clips is good. But yeah, if you
yeah,
want to be a
100%.
content creator,
Because I know as well, like for my
yeah,
first video, when I sort of released it out there, I wasn't expecting anything of it. Like, you don't go in with expectations that you'll get, like a million views on your first video, because obviously when I first released that first video, I it was literally like 50 views, And then just randomly, the YouTube algorithm decided to pick me up, and then I ended up with like 1,000 views. And if your content is, if you are consistent with the content, and people will want to come back.
Well, I would say that's excellent advice to leave it on. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you very much for having me, mate. It was good fun. Had a good chat.
If anyone wants to check out your content, the link is in the description. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Bye.